So a minute ago I was trying to fit the stereo in, and it wouldn't fit. These two holes on the outside would not line up. And I think I figured out where modification to the sub dash is required. Hey folks, today I'm finally doing something on the JK, which I admit I haven't shown you guys yet, so I'll give you a quick tour. Well, maybe not, whatever. It's a 4-door unlimited sport. There's really nothing special about it, except that it's this awesome copperhead color. I've loved this color since I had my 2013 JK, and 2014 this color came out, and I was jealous. So the fact that I've ended up with one in my possession, I don't know, maybe it's just the galaxy giving me my due. But whatever. We just got it back from the shop. You can look back at previous videos to find out why it was in the shop. I don't want to go into that too much now. Got a car stereo for it. Apple CarPlay from Alpine. I'll give you the full model and whatnot. I don't have it right in front of me. It's an ILX something or other. You'll see it as I start getting it installed. First step I need to do here is to pull apart the dash on the JK to see which harness I have to use, because the kit that I bought came with two different harnesses, two different generations of harness. And I want to be certain that I'm going to attach the proper one to the harness for the stereo. So I'm going to go ahead and work on getting that pulled apart. I have my little, these are like cell phone repair tools. I think they'll work on the edge trim for the Jeep as well, because I didn't buy the tools for the Jeep. Probably should have. Anyway, Crutchfield was great enough to send me a set of instructions on how the heck to actually get the dash apart. So I've read through them. We'll see if I can do it by memory or if I have to pull up the instructions as I'm going. So I'll try to get you guys some video while I'm getting it done. So let's get into the Jeep, start getting things taken apart. By the way, thanks for tuning in. If you like these videos, please hit the subscribe button at the bottom of my my channel there and like the video, because, well, that tells me what you guys like and what you don't like. I'm really close to 1,000 subscribers, guys. Go tell your sister, tell your brother, tell your significant other, steal their phone or whatever, and go subscribe to my channel. I'm kidding, don't do that. Anyway, the more subscribers I get, the happier I'll be. So I'm at like 832 or something at the recording of this video. A little over 150 subs, which is actually, when I really started this journey in earnest, I was at like 50 subs. I've been looking forward to 1,000 ever since. It's finally getting close. Anyway, so yeah, like, subscribe, hit the bell and stuff. You'll get my notifications. All right, let's get started. Okay, so this is hard to see. I have to hold a light with one hand and the camera with the other. So this is underneath the steering wheel. You can see a little better there. Basically, this panel just pulls right off. Let me see if I can lay down the light and show you. It's really easy. And I don't know what is in there. That worries me. Just like that. What do we got in there? Someone lost some cookies in there. This is what happens when you have a used vehicle, I suppose. Cookies. Something. Well, I'll clean that up while I'm at it. So, I don't know if you look at these dashboards, you can tell that it's pretty much identical to the glove box on that side. It's because these things are sold in both right-hand and left-hand drive models, and I think they designed the dash so it's all interchangeable. But anyway, that comes out first. Then, from what I read, yes, that bolt, that little bolt right there has to come out, which frees up this center section. And I assume there's another one just like it over there in the glove box. So I will look there then. And then there's one underneath the tray there that the sunglasses are in. Now pull that off. I'm hoping I could do all this without taking off my Pro Clip. That would kind of suck. Okay, so I opened the glove box. There's no bolt in there that I can tell. And there's the one in the tray here that I got to take out. So I don't think I have to pull off the Pro Clip, which is good. I was hoping I wouldn't have to do that, because then I'd probably have to replace it, because the stickiness is holding that on there, the adhesive, and you know. So yeah, that guy's got to come out. So I'm going to take these two out and see if this comes apart like they've said it would. Oh, there's another one behind the window controls there. So I got to pop that out. There's supposed to be one in there too. And this is all supposed to pop out. So we'll see how that goes. Okay, so I was able to get this free. There's no way I'm going to be able to hold the light and the camera and show you, but see what I can do here. So I have these. These are for removing the screens on a cell phone, because I do some electronics work like that. It wasn't the best tool for the job, but I was basically able to get it up under the top here and pry outward. I almost broke the tool, but I got it free. There felt like there was 2 clips. Let's see. Yep. 2 clips, one there, and then it popped right out. So I'm going to pull this out and unplug it so it's out of the way, and then should be able to get the dash the rest of the way out. I don't know where the screw they're talking about is. Maybe it's beneath the plug there. I think I saw a screw down there. All right, I got this one out up here, and I've got this one out back behind the wheel somewhere. You can't see it. There it is, right there. He's out. Okay, so with that out of there, you can see it's unplugged. There's the screw I need to get out. And as far as I know, once that's out, this whole center section just pops off. So we'll see. So you can see everything's loose. That I couldn't get out because it seems like it's broken. Like maybe the previous owner replaced the stereo, which gives me... I sort of expected that, because there's been a few places where the fit of the dash has been weird in this thing. Seems like maybe someone removed that without knowing that that was they thought that was a clip maybe. They just pulled it out. But that's broken, so I'll look at that after it's out of the dash. I also discovered that there is a screw here that I didn't pull out, so I'm going to pull that out. I want to make sure I covered that in the video. So there's one on either side of the steering wheel, over here and over here. I should have known that, because when I checked out the glove box, I noticed there were holes on each side, but there's no screws in them. So, alright. We removed, we can see my plug. That looks like, from the diagram that I saw in the instructions, to be the 2nd gen, but we'll make sure. One of these is antenna. I don't know what the other one is. And this is just also, I don't know, the whole... Stereos used to be simple, guys, and they're not anymore. So I don't know what this is for. Maybe like the mic and stuff. I really don't know. But we'll figure that out. And there's this stuff. I don't know which is which. One's antenna, one is... Maybe the other one's the satellite antenna? That could be. I don't know. Be nice if I could reuse the satellite antenna that came with it, with the stereo that I bought, but I don't think that accommodates for that level of integration. So, all right, stereo is out. I can now look at my wiring harnesses. Like I said, I think that's the 2nd gen one, and get started on the creation of my Franken harness. So, on to that. All right, so now I'm going to show you all the stuff that I got in the box from Crutchfield. Here is my stereo. The ILX W650. Apple Carplay. It's a slim stereo. And by slim, I mean that's as thick as it is. That's the screen. That's how thick the stereo is. So, yeah, it should fit into the dash easily. They did say there's some modification of the sub-dash required, which I'm going to have to investigate. This is stuff that did not come with the stereo. I just put it in this box when I packed it all back up. So here's the factory, or sorry, the stereo's wiring mess. I haven't opened this yet, but I will see what's in here. I don't need the stereo itself yet, so I'm going to put that back in here if I can. Of course, the instruction manual for the new stereo will come in handy. This is for the antenna. So one of those 2 antennas is this. I don't know. One of those 2 things. And that's it for this box. This is the bracketry to mount it in the dash. So that's that. This is the interface unit. Now, there were 2 options for interface units. One of them said, oh, this will make your steering wheel controls and your Uconnect and everything work. That was like $50 more, and I was trying to well, I'll be honest, I cheaped out. I should have got that one, but I didn't. So I got this one instead, partially because I'd used the other unit, the more expensive unit, in a different vehicle, and it was really complicated and a pain in the butt. And for what I got out of it, I didn't think it was worth it. So I decided to go with the other one, the cheaper one, thinking it would be an easier install. But it doesn't seem like it's going to be an easier install. These are those two harnesses I was talking about. This, I believe, is the second one. Let's see if it's labeled. This thing is like amplified versus not. I don't know. This is all kinds of confusion. Second gen, yeah. So this is second gen Chrysler. See, these are plugs for those two that I pulled out of the back. I don't see any accommodation for the USB. Concerns me a little bit. So that's that. And then there's this little module that goes with it. I don't know what the module's for. But this thing somehow connects via like a this little I don't know. So that's that. And this is just the directions for the unit. That's an audio filter, that thing. Okay. So we'll figure out how that works. This is the other generation. See, this goes to that thing, no? I don't know. Alright, so that's that. This I'll need. This is the one I don't need. I'll throw it back in the box. And this is my satellite radio tuner, which I will install, but doesn't require much crazy description because it's pretty simple. Plugs in the back of the stereo and plugs in an antenna, and you're off to the races. So that's that. Alright. So I'm going to start figuring out how all this stuff wires up, and yeah, that's everything that's in here. Okay, so I've got the harness that came from my interface kit, the harness that came with the radio. Now basically, interface kit has a wiring diagram, radio has a wiring diagram. What you need to do is match up the radio with the interface kit. I'll say that these things usually have similar color matching, especially for things like the speakers and whatnot. I don't know if there's a standard or if they just, everyone seems to follow the same color scheme. Now obviously there's some that are kind of universal standards, like red is 12 volt input, or red is the input. Black or green would be ground, so that's sometimes confusing. Yellow is usually like for an amp, but they even have them labeled almost on here. Yes, they do. Look at that. Left front. And they have these power antenna. Yeah, so if you can't read these, you've got these, right? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to solder these connections, these things, to these things, because I just think it gives you a better connection. It's a little more time consuming. I'm okay with soldering. As you can see, I've got a decent setup right here. So I'm going to go ahead and solder them, and then after things are soldered, I'm going to heat shrink wrap them. Which I have a spool of heat shrink wrap here somewhere. I think it's over there. So I'm going to get started on that, and I'll show you a couple joints that I'm going to solder once I get the proper connections figured out. Okay, so it seems like the wiring matches up. What I've done here is I bent all of the non-speaker wires out of my way on both harnesses. So these are my speaker wires on each harness. This and that seem to match up as far as the color coding is concerned. There's a lot of talk in the directions about non-amplified systems versus amplified systems. Unless I've missed something, I'm pretty sure this is a non-amplified system. Got a stock stereo system, there's no sub, there's no factory sub, there's no aftermarket amplifier. I think I have a non-amplified system. Oddly enough, with the amplified system, the color coding is different. So there's this audio filter in here, which I assume does something to clean up the background hiss that the JK has in some of its audio, which I'll be happy for. There's amplified and non-amplified. I've plugged it into non-amplified, and then the output of the speakers comes from it, partially not. There's a number that aren't even used if you don't have an amplified system. So I'm pretty sure I do not have an amplified system, so I'm going to go with that. So I'm going to work on getting all of these connected together. I'll show you a solder joint or two so you can see how they work. Soldering iron's still warming up. So I'm going to prep one or two of these, and then we can go ahead and solder. Okay, so I'm going to try to solder this zoomed in real close so you guys can see how this works, but hopefully you can see well enough. So basically what I'm going to do is take my soldering iron. It's already heated up. I already tinned the tip of it. And what that means, you see how it's shiny? That means that I put some solder on there, like this. And then I got off the excess. Makes it nice and shiny like that. Now the goal here is not to use the iron to melt the solder directly. You heat up what you want to solder. In this case, the copper. You don't want to heat it up too much because then the shielding will start to melt. And then you just sort of feed solder in there. Takes it a minute. But once it happens, it just sort of sucks it right into the copper. There, you see how it's kind of melting into there? I hope you can see that. And what this does is it sort of makes a permanent connection here that you have to cut off if you want to get rid of. We'll let it cool a little bit. And then we'll take this heat shrink, which I may have overestimated on. It doesn't shrink quite as tight as I want it to. And we slide it over the whole thing and we heat it up. And it shrinks in nice, and it's supposed to keep dirt and stuff out of that joint. Okay, so that's how soldering works out. And there you got it. Nice solid connection. Decently closed in there. Just got to be sure not to heat the insulation up when you're melting that down. There we go. I've got, 5 more wires to connect. So I'm going to do that, and then we got to work on the power and ground and all that. I did do a little bit of research. Unfortunately, I didn't do it before the install. There are adapters that you can get, that you can adapt. One of those plugs that I took off the back of the stereo is the satellite adapter, the satellite antenna. You can adapt that to the Sirius XM module. I didn't get the adapter, and I want to get this done today, so I'm just going to put in the antenna that came with it. Maybe later I'll change my mind and switch it. I don't think that's likely, though. So I'm just going to run this thing. I'm thinking I'm going to put it on the top of the roll cage, right underneath the hard top, which from what I'm reading is where people say that the factory antenna also is. So the factory antenna works there. This one should work there too, right? It looks like it's slim enough to fit there. So I'm going to see if it'll fit there. And then if it does, it should be a really easy install. Run it down the roll bar padding, down the pillar, into the dash, to the back of the stereo. So it should be one of the easiest satellite antenna installs I've ever done, aside from in my LJ, which just went up to the roll cage and underneath the padding. So yeah, we'll see how that works out. We'll see if it gets good reception. Hopefully I don't have to move it outside of the vehicle so it gets a clear view of the sky. I've heard the hard top and the soft top both have no problem with the satellite signal getting through. So I'm going to get that done. You can see right here is the satellite antenna. I'm going to run this along underneath the top, behind this little rubber stopper. And then I'll open this up, run it through there, unzip this, run it through here, enter the pillar molding here, run it down the pillar, and then Jeep was kind enough to give us access to the inside of the dash right here. So this pops out of here, and then I should be able to run it across the back of the dash into the radio. So that should be easy. Okay, so this is the first power-up. I've got everything sort of test connected here. You can see this is a mess of wires. I'm going to have a ton of cleanup to do here. But I've got everything with the antenna connected right now. And here is the setup screen. So I'm going to go through the setup, and then I'm going to try to connect my phone, see if that works, stuff like that. And then if everything's cool, I'm going to get it all buttoned into the dash. Okay, so I've verified that everything works now. Got the ears, the install kit put onto the stereo now. Look how shallow this thing is. I just wanted to point that out while I was at it. That's all the connections it has on the back. So this should fit right in here now. Just like that is how it'll fit. And then there's little dimple things that fit in the holes over here. I might have to adjust it a little bit. Doesn't quite pop in there just right. I will figure this out. Okay folks, so this is the part I've been waiting for. There was mention when I bought this that modification to the vehicle's subdash may be required. However, the install docs that I got didn't seem to outline it. Maybe I missed it. It's very possible. I kind of skimmed them just to see how to get the dash apart and whatever. So a minute ago I was trying to fit the stereo in and it wouldn't fit. These two holes on the outside would not line up. And I think I figured out where modification to the subdash is required. And if you see up here, this upper, how I've got it all dremeled out now, that is where I needed to modify the subdash. Basically I needed like a 1/4 inch, not even, to get the stereo up high enough that it would mount in the factory holes. I was going to clean it up a little bit and then the stereo should fit and then I should be able to continue on with my install. So there you go. Modification to the subdash is required. And there you have it. After modifying the subdash, it appears to fit perfectly. I'm going to figure out what to do with all these wires, which seem to go on forever. Get them tacked in there with all this ample space that I now have behind the stereo because it's so shallow. And then I should be able to button this up and actually have a functional vehicle once more. Okay, so now I've got the control module and the Sirius XM module and all that stuff tied up nice. I have just enough pigtail here to get to the stereo. Should be plenty of clearance in the back. That's for the, not the stereo. This is for the satellite. That'll be right in there. The USB will be right there. I might reach around and tie them up a little better once the stereo's mounted. But in all, that's pretty clean. These are the only wires hanging here. So, getting better. Alright folks, I want to show you something. So, when I hooked up the stereo, I don't want to say I rushed it, but I've installed plenty of stereos before. I thought I knew what I was getting into. So I basically flipped through the manual to find the wiring diagram, flipped through the harness manual and found the wiring diagram and started hooking up wires. And for the most part, that's been fine. The problem here is, as you can see, I have the thing installed. The dash is all back together, the stereo is working. However, setup. Look at all the options. I don't know if you can tell. Those are grayed out. The volume, system, Bluetooth, none of these work. That works. Sound lets me do the equalizer and stuff. That works. But like, none of the rest of these are working. So I did some Googling to see like, what the hell? What's going on? Did I get a bum stereo unit? Like, what's up? Well, it turns out that this vehicle, or this stereo, probably for safety regulations, has a lead which determines whether the vehicle is parked. I didn't connect that lead because I didn't think it was important. Because the harness that I have didn't have a lead for it, so I thought, oh, that's just a feature that I won't have. Well, the feature enables this stuff. Because it wants you to be in park before you do something like pair a device. So, now I have to tear this all back apart. There's two ways to deal with this. One is, apparently, in this console, you will find a black wire somewhere near the parking brake that you can tap and connect to the wiring harness on the stereo where it says parking brake. What I think that's going to mean is that in order to do these things, I'm going to have to actually pull the parking brake when I'm stopped. I can't just put this in park. But we'll see once I do it, because that's what I'm about to do. I'm going to tear this whole apart. I'm going to do that. Then I'm going to finish this video. The other option is you can get bypass units online. I don't recommend it. I can't recommend it because this is a safety feature. This is done to prevent distracted driving. I may do it anyway, but I want to try it the right way first. If I can make it work the right way, then I'm going to go with that. I would rather have the safety feature in place than bypass it. If this were my Jeep, not my wife's Jeep, I would probably bypass it. I don't want to sound like I'm throwing caution to the wind. The point is, I know my limit. I may bypass it if it was my vehicle. Because it's my wife, because eventually my kids might be driving this vehicle, they're not old enough to drive yet, but that could be coming. I want this safety feature to work properly. Plus, if I'm going to publish a video for you guys, I want you to see it done right, not bypassed. So I'm going to try to do this right. If that doesn't work, my fallback is to use one of these bypass relays. They're not expensive. I actually already ordered one in case this doesn't work out right, just because I didn't want to waste time. So all that to say, I'm about to rip all this apart so I can try to connect that parking brake switch to the back of the stereo and see if this fixes this problem. So stay tuned. I called up Crutchfield because I was having trouble deciding which wire to use, and they told me this wiring loom right here. There's a green and white wire, which I think is this one right here. Solid green with a white stripe. They said patch that, and it'll get the parking brake signal. So, what I need to do is finish stripping off the loom that's on here. You can see it's all beat up. I'm just basically going to have to strip all the loom off. Maybe I'll wrap it in tape or something when I'm done. I don't know. Maybe I'll just leave it exposed. I don't care at this point. Anyway, I got to tap that and get it up to the stereo, which should be easy since the stereo is, right up there. So I'm going to get that exposed. Then I'm going to get the dash taken back apart and go on from there. Okay, so there we have it. I have to tuck these wires up a little better, but I have tapped into the green wire with a yellow stripe with a vampire. I got to tuck this wire up out of the way, but that goes up to the wiring harness that came with the Alpine head unit. And I tested it, but I've already disconnected it, so I can't show you, but once I get everything back in there, I'll show you how it operates. But there it is. That's all that did it. I just had to tap that into there. I didn't have to do all of this, which is what the internet said and what Crutchfield's original instructions said, but their support guy said that will do the trick, and that appears to have done the trick. So, awesome. I'm going to button this stuff back up and show you how it works. So I do want to give a big shout out to Crutchfield. Not only did they send really great install directions, if you read them thoroughly, but they also have great tech support. So I called them up because I was having trouble finding the wire I need to patch into for that parking brake. The guy was able to get me an answer and send me a picture in my email within about 5 minutes. That's pretty darn cool. I mean, where else can you get that level of service? Good job, Crutchfield. Okay, so here we are. We are connected. The head unit is in the dash. I think that this dash was at one point warped. I feel like it should be like that. And it sticks out just a bit. I don't know if I can heat that up and move it. That's not a result of this. The old unit had the same problem. And I don't know what that is from. But anyway. Alpine Apple CarPlay head unit. Here it is connected. And powered up, of course. The vehicle is obviously stopped in park. I haven't put all this back together yet, so ignore that, please. Here we are sitting. Okay, so we're parked. not running, doors are ajar. There's the stereo. Now, it's got a bunch of options, of course. Almost felt loose for a second. I can't connect my phone and record the video at the same time, so you're just going to have to bear with me. If I connect my phone via the USB port on the side of the phone, CarPlay comes up as expected, right? So that's cool. Setup, you can see these are grayed out still. However, this is the beauty of the park brake. You go on, off, on again. Now they are no longer grayed out. Now I can do the things. So that's awesome. A thing that this stereo has, but I have not connected, is a backup camera. So I have the key, the vehicle's not running obviously, but it's in the run position. If I shift this into reverse, it tries to show me the backup camera. I don't have one connected, but that's it. So if I put it back into drive, or park, it goes back to normal. So that's cool. Looks like I can, in setup here, oh, now I gotta put the park brake back on. If I do this and turn off that camera, now it shouldn't do that anymore when I go into reverse. Yep. Which is good, because there's no camera connected. So, there we have it. I'm not going to give you a whole tour of the stereo. This is basically just, look, it's installed and working and integrated with the parking brake so that I can get into the setup. I don't love the fact that I got to put the parking brake on and off twice. It's basically per power on. You have to pull it into park, put the parking brake on once, off, on again. And after that, every time you put it in once, it'll go into the mode where you can configure things. I don't love that, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a problem. I'm going to configure this thing once and probably not change the settings that often. So we'll see. It's probably just fine that way. So that's it, installed. Now I'm going to figure out why the illumination in my cup holders was never connected. It's there, yet it was not plugged in. I don't even see the plug. That's got nothing to do with the stereo though. So I'm going to figure out how to pull this apart, because the plug, I can feel it. It's in here. You just can't get to it. It bothers me. Somebody has had this interior apart before and did a really bad job putting it back together again. So, anyway, that's it. Yeah, stereo installed. And there you have it. The install of a Alpine, what was it, ILX W650. Apple CarPlay and Android Auto compatible head unit in a 2014 Jeep Wrangler JK Unlimited. I'll admit I'm not a professional stereo installer, but for doing it at home in my shop, I think I did a pretty good job, if I do say so myself. So thanks for watching. If you liked what you saw, hit that like button. If you like my videos, hit the subscribe button so you can see more of them. And hit that bell so you can tell when I release a new video. I don't know if you guys have caught any of the crawlcasts I've done so far, but those are live streams that kind of happen roughly on weekends at whenever I've got time to get them done. So if you hit that notification icon, you'll know when I go live, and that's probably even more important than when I publish videos, because that's a thing that happens kind of on a loose schedule at the moment. I missed last weekend's, sorry. Next weekend I'll try to get one in. So at any rate, thanks for watching. Remember, if you like the channel and you want to support me, you can do so either by buying products from my Teespring shop, or you can do so directly via Patreon at patreon.com/SWBCrawler. Links to both of those are down in the description of this video. So thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.